We are farmers.
My dad's shop, he purchased a Taurus 3-axis milling machine. So in the early 80s, 84, 85, and this is one of the first machines out on the market that did what it did. Instead of creating a die model by hand, you could go on the computer and you would create this surface of the die model, and then you would create cutter paths. A cutter path is, if a 3D milling machine is basically like a big drill press, except that it rotates on an axis. So you have this drill spinning around, and when it touches the surface, it cuts it. So you would have, you would call cutter paths. It would go here, and it would go down, move over, come back up, move over, go back down, from front to back of the car. So now, or the part, whatever you're doing. So now you could create this part with this milling machine in a few hours or a few days instead of weeks. And he had one of these machines at his shop, and he had a tool and die development shop, so he was using it to cut wooden models. I remember seeing they were cutting the inside of an Oldsmobile deck lid, you know, with all the structure on the underneath. And he brought me over there one Saturday, and he says, "I want you to see this." And as soon as I saw what that machine was doing, my head tells me that's going to take the place of clay modeling someday. It's very rough right now, but everything always advances. So I learned at his shop. I'd go there on Saturdays. I learned how to, you know, operate the machine. I learned how to do the cutter pass. I went back to American Motors, and they were talking about expanding, and they were talking about getting into this new, you know, 3D milling process. And so, you know, I got them in touch with my dad. He showed them what was going on, and it didn't go through with American Motors because at that time Chrysler bought us out. But then Chrysler got involved with the same process, and now a 3D milling machine it works so fine that when you're done with it, you barely even have to touch it. It's practically a finished surface. I mean, back in the day, after we were done milling it, you kind of have to go there and kind of smooth it out, you know, and all the little ruffles and ridges. Now, the cutter paths are so tight and so controlled, it's practically done. And yeah, as far as a transition from using a clay tool to learning how to program a mill, that was the beauty of it. Like, I saw this at my dad's shop. All of his wood model makers are, "Oh, we're going to lose our jobs." No, they all learned how to program the mills. Nobody lost the job over that. And because you can do things faster and more accurate, the whole thing expands. And it's the same thing at Chrysler. You know, we started out with a couple little clay mills. When I retired there, they had like 10 portable clay mills that they could run from studio to studio, drop it on the platform and mill. And then we had a whole bunch of stationary mills that were sunk into the ground that you could do 2 cars at the same time. It was a 40-foot long mill. And like I said, even the clay modelers over at Chrysler, a lot of those guys are milling, are operating the mills or creating the cutter paths. Nobody lost a job.